Hey everyone. Been a little nervous lately. 'Cause a year ago I filed an insurance claim for hail damage, and now it appears that nobody wants to pay. They don't want to pay the claim. I could be wrong, but the appearance is that they don't want to pay the claim. And they want to cancel my insurance. And so I've had this really, the feeling you get when you're getting screwed, and there's not much you can do. I believe I've done everything that needed to be done. There was an inspection done by the insurance company adjuster. The insurance adjuster gave me less for the house than they did for the car from another insurance company. That just doesn't seem right. So in the paperwork it said that if I find somebody who can do the work, and in hail damage you need electrical, you need all the disciplines, roofing. If I find somebody who can do all the work, and we want to add on something additional to it, then they need to call the adjuster will meet with the contractor to do the hail damage, and they'll work out a scope of loss document. So I found a contractor. They did a re-inspection, the contractor and the insurance company adjuster. I was supposed to get, that according to the paperwork, I would get a second scope of loss document, to review what the new assessment was. The first assessment was less than a car. All he did was walk around, and the house is old. Maybe there's depreciation. I don't know. I'm not an insurance professional, but it just doesn't seem right to me. I did what was supposed to be done, but I'm still waiting for paperwork that I don't know was it produced. So I didn't do much of a winter. I mean, I was working on important things, but I thought that I had done everything proper. So as weather got better, I said, well, I need to have work done. I need to have that work done because the time is going to run out. And so I contacted the contractor to find out if they had heard from the insurance company, and they were waiting for me to get in touch with them, because the insurance company, as they understood it and as I understood it, was supposed to get back to me. I have no record of it, and so getting a little nervous. So I emailed the company that I bought I guess the agent who buys from insurance companies. If I contacted the agent, maybe I should have contacted the other one, but the agent is the one that sold me that I'm going through. And, why are you putting me up with a company that doesn't want to pay? They took my money. They didn't complain about anything before, but now they're saying this is old and that's old and we don't want to pay. But my concern is because of the work that I've been doing with AATMAG PLA, trying to rid America and the world of deep-rooted corruption. But that's concern to me because often I get retaliated against, and I'm not sure from whom or why. But this just doesn't seem right. So, I've had this sinking feeling of, what do I do? I think I'm about to get cheated. So I sent an email to the agent, and they called me back and wanted me to return the call to their office. And I'm thinking, well, that's not very professional. If I'm about to, get cheated, I want a record of what we're talking about. I don't want to have to write it down. If it was professional, they had the email address. They could have emailed me with the information. So it just doesn't seem right to me. Something doesn't seem right. The problem I have is I need to find out what happened. I don't want to find out over the phone, and so how do I get records? So I got to thinking about it. AATMAG PLA. I spent months and months working on it. How can AATMAG PLA help me in this instance? So I got to thinking about it, and the fact is, I believe that I have reasonable suspicion that something is not right, that potentially criminal activity is afoot. So what probable cause do I have to go by? And how can that probable cause help me? The probable cause creates consent to interrupt another's freedom. There are different levels of arrest, and that I believe this level of arrest, I have a reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot, for the reasons I outlined initially, and that's because they want to have telephone conversations rather than documentation in a time when there could be a legal issue. That's a problem for me. Wouldn't be a problem for them, problem for me. So it's unprofessional and a concern. Another thing was when I contacted the contractor and said, well, have you heard from them? They said, no, it's, let me get the quote. They said, an insurance claims supplements employee for the contractor said it is a bit unusual that the insurance carrier has not yet reached out to confirm the approved coverage for your damages. I am assuming that they have also not forwarded you scope of loss documentation as well, correct? So even they believed I should have gotten the scope of loss documentation. And even they believe it's a little bit a bit unusual. Unprofessional? Unusual? Something to be concerned about or nothing to be concerned about? They want to speak to you about it over the telephone? What can I do about it? What do I do about it when they have attorneys and I don't? AATMAG PLA. So how can AATMAG PLA help me? So I recognized I've had the counseling. I teach the counseling, so I've had the counseling. I know when I see someone committing barratry. I am a competent jurisdiction on the crime of common law barratry. There's common law and statutory law. Statutory law is contrary to the common law. Statutory law is meant more for government administration. Common law is the law of the people. So how can the law of the people help the people? It's supposed to protect the people from injury and wrong. Protect their goods, their reputation, their lives, their honor. Okay, AATMAG PLA. So I recognized that the behavior is odd. That's suspicious to me. not criminal in itself, but also my understanding is that there's from my court, called Lehoux court, issued a conviction against the state of Maine, essentially the federal government, certainly state of Maine, and certainly city of Sanford. I issued arrest warrants for every city council member, and I issued an arrest warrant for the they're convicted, so they're actually they're on the run. They're convicted and they're not punished. They're still out there on their crime spree. So here are convicted racketeers. They're in city government, they're in state government, they're in federal government, they're in industry. Who are they? I don't know. AATMAG PLA. We use that to test them. Are they going to preserve my rights? Or are they going to try to cheat me and put me into this system that they have total control over? Is the insurance company part of it? I don't know. But we can test it using AATMAG PLA tools, and we can correct it using AATMAG PLA tools. And this is one of my first real world tests. So at this point, I believe I have a right. I believe we're at we're at the second level of arrest, where you believe that criminal activity is afoot and you have a reasonable suspicion to believe so, based on probable cause, which I've demonstrated there is. If you have a racketeering enterprise like City of Sanford, who licenses businesses in the city, or State of Maine, who licenses not only businesses but professions, insurance, then just like with the COVID situation, government is utilizing the license to force private companies. Now, are you private with a license? So they're forcing a public-private partnership that uses extortion. Again, racketeers. They use extortion. And so in racketeering, there's an enterprise, and there are associations, and then there are associations in fact, where someone is in insurance and has a license with known racketeers, state of Maine. The potential for leveraging that insurance entity is there, and it's a concern. So that's probable cause. Unprofessional behavior. Unusual conduct. Human life and property at risk. And, they want to talk to me over the telephone. So, I'm invoking the rules of necessity as a private right of action by a posse cry depays. I have issued a call for a posse cry depays because government is corrupt and the people are the only ones who can save America. AATMAG PLA, through the counseling, I told them, maybe I'm wrong. I just want to find out what's going on. You're not giving me information in a way that I can receive it, analyze it, and convey it if there's an issue. You want me to write everything down. Write it down. Give me the information. Maybe it's not their job. Maybe it is the insurance company's job. But again, they sold me a policy for automobile, for a vehicle. How is it that I can prove that I never had a vehicle, but I paid for vehicle insurance? Right? And in the counseling, the evidence demonstrates that 2 judges refused to let the jury know what the definition of a person is, even though in the matter of State of Maine versus Donald Lehoux, the issue was operating while licensed, suspended, or revoked. In the language is any person who, but the judge said, I will read any definition that the legislature put in to the jury. I will read it to the jury. But when it came to person, he said, I'm not going to worry about their education level. After saying that, he had to tell the jury what the definitions were. And why wouldn't he? The jury has a right to know all the evidence. The defendant has a right to have his defense. The judge decides, this isn't going to work out for me, so I'm not going to let that happen. If you don't like it, you can go and you can appeal it to the other judges. But no, that's not going to work. I have a jury here. I want the jury to hear it. You said you had to do it, and then you didn't do it. The judge said he had to do it, and he knew he had to do it because he would be legislating to the juries. The legislature put the definition in the law. The policeman is charging, and the prosecutor is charging supposed defendant, the victim, with a crime that's written out. And the judge decides what he's going to pick and choose, even after saying he can't do that because, well, again, he's overriding the legislature. He's overriding the prosecutor, who's supposed to protect the rights of both parties. Who's the victim? The state can't be the victim. So that's barratry. Again, they can't link him to the crime, and he doesn't want their services. Yet they're forcing him into that system. And the insurance company is selling him vehicle insurance when he doesn't even have a vehicle. Does anybody in America have private freedom of movement and travel insurance? No. Because it's an industry-wide, they passed laws. You didn't have to have insurance, and then they passed laws. Well, who benefits? How do they take away that natural, inherent, and unalienable right to own property to make your life better so you can get from here to there through free movement? Where's the insurance for the free movement, private property? You don't have it. It's all related to vehicles. It's commercial vehicle for transportation for hire, and there's non-commercial for transportation for pleasure. But they're converting the private rights into a privilege and profiting off that. And then police can come in and stir up all kinds of suits and quarrels without having a right or a lawful cause to do so. So my question to the insurance company is, how do you take away these natural, inherent, unalienable rights and completely convert everyone's into transportation for pleasure? What's your lawful mechanism for doing that? I have a right to know. I proved I prove that the entire Maine court system is committing fraud by the testimony of 2 judges on court transcripts. But no one is arresting any of them. One got put on active retired status, and I think that the clerk at the court got moved down to the second one because we complained that 56 minutes of transcripts are missing. You want to have an appeal, and we're trying to get the trial court records, and you're telling us basically mindless things without giving us the proper response. You're a public servant acting like a private owner of government. So that's probable cause. I'm getting screwed. Unusual and unprofessional things occurring in the matter. And there's a linkage, a sharing of an association with the racketeers. And I want to know, have they already been complying with the COVID fraud? I asked 13 public servants tasked with the responsibility of enforcing the laws. How do you take away the natural, inherent, and unalienable rights of the people that you work for? And they can't answer it because they're only following orders until the people are just sitting there saying, what do we do? Just like I was like, I was sick. What do I do? And I said, AATMAG PLA. I wrote it. I put it together. It's the tool for us to use. So I want them to give me answers. I want to know, was this document produced? But more importantly, I want to know who in this office knows anyone who might have been convicted by my court. Is this retaliation of sorts? That would be an attack against the court. Police in uniforms have limited jurisdiction, but the people have jurisdiction everywhere. Why? Because the common law is the law of the people. Why don't they teach the common law? Read the counseling, type in AATMAG PLA in your browser, and it'll come up with an explanation about it and the documents of the program. So because I have this probable cause, again, there's an the COVID-19 fraud, if that's being followed, if you're a business or a profession, you're supposed to know and follow the law. Everyone is supposed to, but when you're in business and you're a professional, you have to know the law. You can't be violating people's rights without liability. And that's the situation we're in now, is unfortunate. So I recognize the probable cause, and I link that to the suspicion, and I say, well, you're suspicious and this and that. So I want answers. So at the second level of arrest, I have invoked the common law right to inquire. And you'll find that in the counseling and letter of understanding document. Type in AATMAG PLA, look for the counseling and letter of understanding document. And if they're following the COVID-19 fraud and forcing employees and customers to abide by a governor decreed an executive order. So one public servant told everybody else that you can volunteer to do something But if you don't volunteer to do it, then we're going to use force and violence and fines to force you to do it. So it's a voluntary requirement that fails the first test of due process because it's vague. It doesn't even make sense. And who is this one public servant to tell the common law jurisdiction what to do? People, as human beings, have a brain, and they're the administrator. They created government, and they need to be able to transact within government. And so they created a person that doesn't have a brain. A person can be a company, a corporation, a partnership, a trust. And so the human with the brain is the administrator over the person. But they've made you the person, which materially is impossible. Humans have a brain. The person does not. The person is dependent on the human. So in this case, they're trying to make the human the person who's dependent on the state. Hey, job security, right? But they're just following orders, and we're just sitting here saying, well, what do we do? There's nothing we can do. No, the people who are supposed to do something aren't doing anything. Well, you're the ones who're supposed to do it. You're the common law. You're the people who hired these people. If you don't do it, they're not going to do it because they're just following orders, and life is great. They are called essential. You're not. So AATMAG PLA uses a counter offer. So I said to them, I need this information. I told you that I did all these things, and this is why I believe that there might be, you might not know it, but somebody might know it, because this does not smell right. And judge, one of the basic principles, if it doesn't sound right, it probably isn't true. If it doesn't make sense, and if it isn't true, then everything else that comes after it, I can believe is not true as well. So I told them, I need this information. I have a common law right to inquire, and I'm gonna bump this up to a criminal investigation because of my professional knowledge of barratry, this common law crime of stirring up suits and quarrels when you don't have a right or a lawful cause for doing so. You're taking people's rights, you're denying people their rights, and you don't have any right to do so. They haven't demonstrated any probable cause, so it makes no sense. They can't show you the law that makes it lawful. And they can't dispute any of what I've said. So I told them, if you're going to tell me that you're not going to give me the information, then tell me why I shouldn't bump this up to the third level of arrest. Right? Because that's what it is. You're hampering a lawful criminal investigation that I've demonstrated the probable cause linkage to a racketeering enterprise that's not in dispute. So I said, here's where you can go to you type in AATMAG PLA and you go and get the free counseling, because if I have to counsel you later, I expect to be paid for my time. That's my counter offer. If you're telling me that you're not going to answer my lawful demand, then again, that raises my level of suspicion, and that hampers my ability to apprehend and prosecute known violators. Because how do they lawfully do it? If they don't sell private property freedom of movement insurance, how do they sell vehicle insurance to somebody who doesn't even engage in transportation? If nothing else, it's a crime because it's a false statement. But when it's barratry, that's equal to a Class A crime under statute, which would get you 10 years in prison or more, but then when it comes to barratry is betrayal. And where the American people are the kings, betrayal of the king generally ends up badly. You end up in a tough situation because you should. It's the worst crimes. So I gave them 10 days. I'm going to wait to get my answers that I asked for, and if I don't get my answers, then I have to go from there. But this is a real concern to me because this doesn't smell right, and I want to know what's going on. And so I'll keep you posted if you keep on checking back. Thank you very much. AATMAG PLA. It took away my nauseating feeling, and I think it might have moved it over to them. The Justice Files. The Justice Files. The Justice Files. The Justice Files. You got no damn right.